Thank you everybody for joining me tonight. This is You Can Buy a Home, first time home buyers presentation or webinar or class or whatever you want to call it. I am here just to inform you about how you can buy a home. And so there's a lot of myths out there, and I hopefully can debunk some of them for you. This here is going to teach you where to start and kind of what steps to take to purchase that first home. My name is Rose Backlin. I am a realtor here in the Branson area. You'll see my baby girl, Roxy, is my dog. She is like a child to me. I'm really big in volunteering. I don't have any kids, but I do have 2 nephews, so I'm really big in their lives and being an aunt, and I love that. And I also thrive on making sure everybody just loves themselves. So you'll see a lot of my work that says self-love. And so that's just a little bit about me and who I am. And so let's get started. I want you guys to learn about the buying process here and what steps you need to take. So this here is a graphic on rent versus buy projections. Your monthly rent could be $1,025. So if you're paying that for 12 months, you've spent $12,300 on housing. And you have not increased your net worth at all. However, you could have a lower monthly payment, basing it off of a $150,000 house at 4% interest. So you're paying $899 for your mortgage. That means you have spent less money on housing, $10,789, and you have increased your net worth with that. So that just kind of shows you a little bit about renting versus owning. And so it's just a nice graphic to see how that works out. So first, let's talk about some home benefits of being a home ownership. So the first thing is happiness. So the feeling of owning your own home is nice because you can do what you want with it, when you want, how you want, anything like that. So if you want an animal, you can have an animal. If you want to plant something, you can do that. And so that's just really nice. Depending on where you do purchase your home, you might have like some restrictions, like for livestock and stuff like that. But for the most part, you can do what you want. The government also rewards homeowners by giving them some tax benefits. So sometimes you do have tax savings as well. And so I highly recommend, if you have questions about that, to contact a CPA or the person that does your taxes, as I am not a professional in taxes at all. The next thing is appreciation. So home values have a well-documented history of going up over time. The increase becomes equity, and you can benefit from that whenever you refinance or when you sell. So it's a rough estimate that first-time home buyers stay in their home about 5 years. And so if you have made good appreciation, that will give you a little bit of extra money to help move to your next home. The next thing is equity. So renting, this is a good analogy. Renting is compared to paying 100% interest. So you're paying for your rent, and you're actually not getting anything back from that. So you could pay rent for 30 years, and yet you're still going to have to pay for 31, 32, 33 years if you want to stay in that same house. Where if you were buying your own house and you were there for 30 years, then that 31, 32, 33, you wouldn't have that payment. So that's kind of where that analogy comes from. The next thing is roots. People that own a home usually stay 4 times longer in that area. So that gives you kind of like just a set, I'm here to stay kind of thing, because this is my house, not I'm paying somebody else's mortgage. The last thing is education. So I found this really interesting when I found this slide. research shows children of homeowners earn higher test scores and graduate at a higher percentage than those of renters. So I had no idea that that was true. And so I asked somebody, I was like, hey, I saw this. What do you think? And they said that they had actually heard of that as well. And so, yeah, so just owning a house could also help your child in school and stuff like that. So, and that's just some benefits of home ownership. So, you know, you want to buy a home, and now where do you start? So these are two things that are pretty much 50-50. You can start with a lender, you can start with an agent, either one, and then your next step is going to be the other one. So if you first go get pre-approved by a lender, then once you get pre-approved, you'll want to go find a real estate agent that you're comfortable with. So let's first talk about getting pre-approved by a lender. You do not want to start looking at houses until you have gotten pre-approved by a lender. The worst thing is for you to fall in love with a house that you can't afford. That is heartbreaking, and I can't express that enough. There's nothing I can do if you fall in love with a house that's like $50,000 too much or $100,000 too much. So please, you need to go talk to your lender. You need to be honest. You need to give them the paperwork they're asking for, and tell them the closest estimation you can give. Because at the end of the day, they're going to ask for proof. And if you've not been completely honest with them, then that could backfire on you, offers, and things like that down the road. So definitely get pre-approved by a lender. Some have different verbiage and stuff like that, but it's basically all get pre-approved by a lender. They'll email your agent, your real estate agent, once you get one, the letter, so that way your offer looks better as well. Another thing I like to mention, like in my little bubble, that there are loans that don't require down payments. So there are multiple loans out there where if you qualify for like a USDA, there's no down payment for that. So the only money out of pocket is your closing costs, and those closing costs we could actually ask the seller to pay for. So you could possibly be out no money to purchase this house. And so that's just a nice little fact I like to tell people. There's multiple loans out there for different types of houses and stuff like that. But you have to go get pre-approved by your lender so we know what you qualify for. Like there's a VA for veterans, there's the USDA, there's an FHA, there's all kinds of things here in town. There's one that does for mobiles, there's one that does in bank one. So there's all kinds of loans out there. But you have to get pre-approved. If you do need a list of lenders here locally to get pre-approved by, just send me a message or give me a call, and I would love to give you that list of the local lenders that I highly recommend, okay? The next thing is to find a real estate agent that you're comfortable with. This may be me, this may not be me. Either way, I'm fine with it, but you need to make sure that you're working with somebody that you're comfortable with and that you can talk to. Because this agent, we're going to get down to some nitty gritty of some wants, some nots. And if you get into a situation where you love a house or a tight offer or something like that, you need to make sure that you're comfortable with that agent and know that agent is working for you and know that agent has your best interest whenever they're submitting that offer and stuff like that. I always highly recommend make sure that you can interview multiple agents too, and find someone that you're comfortable with. It's just like going in for a job interview. Call, set up an appointment, anything that you want, and make sure you're comfortable with that person first. And another nice little fact is 90% of the time, the seller actually pays for the buyer agent commission. So having a buyer's agent is almost like having a free service because the seller will pay for our commission in 90% of the situations. And so that's just a nice little overview of make sure you get pre-approved by a lender and make sure that you work with a real estate agent that you're comfortable with. Okay. The next thing is I want you to know the difference between a realtor and a real estate agent. So a realtor follows a higher code of ethics. And so if you ever encounter one that is only a real estate agent and can't say that they are a realtor, know that that is the difference right there. So when you meet with your agent and you know you're comfortable with them and you've interviewed for them and things like that, you need to make sure that you have a list of your wants and your needs. Those are two specifically different lists. Wants are, you want a sunroof, or you want a view, or you want this or that. Needs are you have 4 kids and you need 3 bedrooms. And your kids need to stay in this school, or something like that. So make sure you have those lists and you give that to your agent so you guys are all on the same path. The next thing you can expect is your realtor is going to set you up with an online search. So you'll get notified instantly when something new comes on the market in your criteria. And because you've already been pre-approved, as soon as that house that you love comes on the market or pops up in your news feed, the next step is to start going and looking at homes. And that's the fun part of it all. So you've gotten pre-approved, you've found a realtor you love, you've gotten notified of this house that's came on the market, it's in an area that you love, and now you've looked at it and you fall in love with it. What happens next? So next, what's going to happen is you're going to make an offer. So this is where you feel like you sign your life away, basically. You're committing an offer, you're putting an offer in on this house. And this is where it's important to know the real estate agent needs to know what kind of loan you are qualified for and that you're getting, and things like that, so they can add things into the offer for you. This is also where we can ask for the seller to pay concessions. That would help with your closing costs and things like that. So once you make an offer, the seller can accept, reject, or counter. So accept is accept, reject is where they just completely reject it, counter is where they come back and they have a different offer. Whether it's they pay less or they do this or they do that, that would be at their counter. The next thing after your contract has been accepted is you'll want an inspection. All loans will usually require an appraisal. Now, your inspection is where you're going to find out if, for instance, there's something wrong with the roof or the hot water heater, or I don't know, the jets on the tub don't work, or a light fixture doesn't work, or something like that. That's what your inspection is for. We highly, highly recommend for you to get an inspection of your house. And then the next thing is once you do an inspection, you can go do an inspection notice to the seller and possibly get some of those things fixed. So for some of the loans, they have to have, like all the lights working. And so if one of them doesn't work, you can go back with an inspection notice and say, dear seller, we need this to be fixed. And hopefully they'll be able to fix it so your house will qualify for your loan. So I mentioned appraisal. Appraisal is a biggie after your inspection and your inspection notice. So your appraisal is going to say what your house is worth. So if you're getting a loan for $200,000 and your house only appraises for $150,000, well, that's no good. So we always want the appraisal to come in higher than what you're paying for the house or right at what you're paying for the house. Okay, and if you have any questions on that, let me know and I can explain that a little further. So after you've went through the appraisal, the inspection and all that fun stuff, you're going to be excited for the closing time. And closing can take any amount of time from like 45 days to 60 days or longer, depending on situations. If you're just doing a complete cash offer, then that's like 2 weeks, but rarely does that happen. So it's time for closing. You're sitting at the title company, and what do? So you're going to sign your loan documents. You're going to sign your title documents, and you're going to receive the keys to your new house. And that is pretty much it. The closing time is really simple and easy. And we'll go over everything before we sit down at the table so you know what you're signing. And that is pretty much your closing time. And it's for buyer and seller, usually lasts about 30, 45 minutes or so. So you're not there too long. And then you can move in depending on the contract. So that is basically your home buying process. And so if you guys have any questions, my email is on the screen as well as my cell phone number. And I'd love to answer any questions you might have. Again, my name is Rose, and there's my contact information. I'd love to help you. Thanks.